If you are all about high fidelity, if you're all about the music, hearing every last detail, and you don't use headphones, then you're missing out. So sit down, grab a cup of coffee, and let's talk about why, if you're a true audiophile, you need a pair of headphones. Maybe the Moondrop Paras. I get it. There's a lot of people out there that only like speakers. They hear about $1,000 headphones and it makes their skin crawl because you can get a really good set of speakers for $1,000. I've always loved headphones. When I was 6 years old, I got a Walkman. And that's where my love for everything that reproduces music started. So I started with headphones. This was really just going to be a standalone review of the Moondrop Paras, but I started thinking last night as I was listening to these that frankly, I'm getting more musical definition and maybe even more musical enjoyment from a $300 pair of headphones versus a $3,000 system. Of course, there's going to be things that headphones can never do, like reproduce accurate and believable soundstage and imaging. But if you want a true audiophile experience and you're on a budget, then buying a pair of headphones is probably the way you need to go. So let's get to know the Moondrop Paras a little bit better. So there's a lot to like about these headphones, the Moondrop Para. They're 100mm planar magnetic headphone. And check out how you get the ear pads off. Boop. Just like that. Look at that jiva. So they're magnetic. Comes with another set of ear pads too. This is kind of like a hybrid soft material surrounded by vegan leather. They also come with another pair of vegan leather perforated pads. I'm a big fan of regular leather because it lasts forever and actually is a better value than crappy fake vegan leather. And the cows are dead anyway, so we might as well use the leather. Anyway, sorry PETA if anybody's watching, but people are going to eat the cows, so we might as well use the leather too. Goats, sheep, pigs, they all make great leather. That lasts forever. Anyway, get off my leather soapbox. Metal construction around here, so you have an exterior band and then you have, I don't know, some type of suspension band here. And there's no padding on it, but it doesn't really need to be because it just conforms to your head. I wore these for hours and they did not get uncomfortable. And they're fairly light, especially when you compare them to something like these massive monolith, I don't know what, 1070s? There's a significant weight differential here. So Moondrop did a really good job of designing these, in my opinion. Now you're not going to go jogging with these or get them on the treadmill. You can, but you're going to look like a maniac. On the sides you have adjustments for the interior band, up and down. The exterior here feels like plastic. Looks like metal, but I think it's plastic. And the terminations on each ear cup is kind of like a molded, transparent 3.5mm input. These feel really well made, and they're $299.99. I guess these are pre-order. Sorry, I thought they were available now. Anyway, they're pre-order. And then on the side you have right and left the little Para logo, and it rotates a little bit back and forth. Like I said, super comfortable. Never had any issues. And at $300, they are picking a big fight with the other headphone that I think is probably the best out there at its price, the HiFiMan Sundara. Well, guess what? It might not be anymore. Talk about how they sound. How they sound. They have a frequency response graph on the back of their packaging here. And that's kind of what I heard. So basically it's flat up to, it starts to go up after 1K, peaks about 3K, and then comes back down. I never felt like these were fatiguing, and I did push the volume a little bit. These are an 18 ohm headphone, which means you're going to need some power on them to get the most out of them. I think I was using the Arco 3 Pro from Gishelli Labs, had the J2 Gishelli Labs DAC going into Arco 3 Pro, the Weem Pro Plus going into the J2, although I wasn't using the Weem Pro Plus's internal DAC. At 18 ohms, the Arco 3 Pro probably puts out around 1.5 to 2 watts, and that was plenty. Although I did have to crank that volume probably to the 3 o'clock position, but that was louder than I normally listen. I just wanted to see how much juice these things could take. They can take a lot. Mid-range, I think, leans a little bit to the cool side, but the detail is absolutely extraordinary. Harmonies completely separated out. This headphone does a great job of taking individual voices, individual instruments, and placing them where they should be. And that, my friends, is why I think on a budget, the best way to get the absolute utmost in high fidelity sound is to get a pair of headphones. Specifically a pair of planar headphones. Now, not all planars are created equally. I think the HiFiMan Sandara are great. I think the HiFiMan HE400, these are awesome too. And these are about $100 bucks, a little north of $100, which is insane. What I think the Paras do better than the Sandaras is instrument separation. The Paras don't have a ton of bass, so you're not going to get that slammy bass. But the Arco 3 Pro does have tone controls. So I took the bass and I went just a little bit, and I got them sounding right where I wanted them to sound. Out of the box, I think they're a little bit thin on the bottom end. From punch standpoint, extension, I think they're pretty good. Listen to the 1 minute mark of Narcissistic Cannonball, and it goes doo-doo all the way down. And I did hear it, but what I really like is a little bit of punch in the face when I'm listening to my music. I know, crazy, right? So for me personally, the sound signature was perfect. It just needed a little bit of extra juice on the bottom. You can EQ these till your heart's content. Well, I didn't throw the kitchen sink at it as far as boosting things up 6 or 7 or 8 dB. I just needed a little bit of nudge on the bottom end to get these exactly where I wanted them to. I listen to all sorts of stuff, and that's kind of a litmus test for me, is when I stop listening to my test track playlist and just listen to music for enjoyment. Shocking. Elton John sounded great, depending upon the recording. Some of Elton John's stuff, his earlier stuff, isn't recorded really that well. Very mid-range centric. Unforgiven by Metallica, that's one song that I've been listening to quite a bit lately. So that you have the acoustic guitar intro, and then the drums and bass come in, and it's pretty intense. I got a lot more bottom end. On other headphones, speakers, it's normally a lot more heavy. So I'm kind of beating a dead horse at this point, but if you're a bass head, you're going to need to EQ these, or you should probably look elsewhere. Maybe something like the HiFiMan Edition XS. However, these come in at $500. So, what are my final thoughts? Final thoughts. I think the Moondrop Paras are incredible. I think at $300, they just put HiFiMan on notice. I've had a lot of headphones come through lately, and I've been really disappointed in most of them. They just haven't been my cup of tea. I like clarity. I like a little bit of punch on the bottom. I like exciting highs. I do not like fatigue, though. And even though I pushed the Paras, I never felt like they were fatiguing. I think this is a direct competitor to the Sandaras from HiFiMan. I think these are built better. I think these are more comfortable. I think these seal better. I think they have definitely a cooler way to put the pads on. Focus. There we go. Definitely a cooler way to put the pads on. Definitely a cooler looking driver. These are built really well. Somebody put some effort into these. Whether or not you like him more than the Sandara is going to be ultimately up to you. There's going to be things the Sandara may do better, but up to this point, they kind of sat on their own as being the de facto headphone recommendation for around $300. These come in at $300. I don't know if they're ever going to go on sale, but still at $300, I think it's a crazy value. Most headphone amps are going to drive these just fine. I like a little bit of tone control, but coming full circle, I think if you want to hear the music, all of the music, then headphones are probably the way to go if you're on a budget. You fundamentally eliminate room issues when you have headphones. You're not going to get the same soundstage and imaging. You're not going to get the same immersion. You're not going to get the band or the performance laid out in front of you perfectly with headphones. Just not going to happen. Not going to do it. Sorry. Terrible. If you're super old and you watch Saturday Night Live, you know where that reference is from. So this headphone gets my highest recommendation. And don't just dismiss headphones, because it's another way that you can take your musical enjoyment to the next level, and maybe to a level that you didn't really expect. So, if you want to support the channel, you can sign up for Patreon, patreon.com/cheapaudioman. Every Sunday night, we have Patreon-only Zooms, Patreon-only Discord, Patreon-only Facebook group. You can also use the links in the description. Those will be affiliate links, which means if you click and you buy, I get a commission. Doesn't cost you anymore, though, so it's a great way to support the channel. You can also buy me a cup of coffee. Down at the bottom of the video, there's a thanks button. Click on it. Give me a couple of bucks. Put a little money in the tip jar, but don't feel compelled to buy me anything. Finally, you can sign up for Amazon Music, Tidal, or Rune. Links in the description. Click sign up. Even if you quit, I still get a couple of dollars. So don't binge watch anything on Netflix or Hulu. Binge listen, maybe through a new pair of headphones like the Moondrop Paras. Yeah, that's right, Paras. And fill your soul with happiness. And with that, I'm Randy. I'm the Cheap Audio Man.